you live from our Auckland Park studios. This is Prime News on SABC 3. Here are the top stories. President Ramaphosa says the Catholics and people of all faiths are saddened by the passing of Pope Francis. More than 500 motorists have been arrested for various traffic offences across South Africa, including drunk driving and speeding during Easter Road Safety Campaign. Former President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Joseph Kabila, is back in the eastern part of the DRC. Good evening and welcome to Prime News on 3. I am Paulette Nell and a pleasure it is to be in your company this evening. President Cyril Ramaphosa says the Catholics and people of all faiths are saddened by the passing of Pope Francis. He says that the spiritual leader sought to unite humanity and wished to see a world governed by fundamental human values.
Catholics and people of all faiths are saddened today by the passing of a spiritual leader who sought to unite humanity and wished to see a world governed by fundamental human values. Following so soon after the celebration of Easter, the passing of Pope Francis will extend this traditional period of prayer and reflection, which will unite the Church and the international community in reflecting on the Holy Father's life and legacy.
Meanwhile, the world continues to mourn the passing of the Pope.
Annunciare la morte del nostro Santo Padre Francesco.
Dear brothers and sisters, it is with profound sadness I must announce the death of our Holy Father Francis at 7:35 a.m. The Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the house of the Father. His entire life was dedicated to the service of the Lord and His Church.
The world is reeling following the passing of Pope Francis. This was one of his last engagements with US Vice President J.D. Vance. Vance's Catholic had lashed with the pontiff over the Trump administration's immigration policies.
It's one of those things you always know where you were when you heard the news, and I had a message from my wife just saying that the Holy Father had died, and I'd actually called her just a few minutes beforehand to come and pray, but the doors were closed. Obviously the news hadn't got out.
It's a sad day, and many good people are come and passed on, and we hope like the next Pope could be as good as the next and leave good examples.
World leaders have taken to social media to express their condolences.
Today, the prayers of more than 1 billion people from all nations and every walk of life go with Pope Francis to his rest.
During his last Easter message, the pontiff indicated that the situation is deplorable in Gaza. He also called on Hamas to release its remaining hostages. Kylie Kumalo, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Over 100 people have been arrested as they attempt to jump the border at the Bait border post in Musina, Limpopo during the Easter long weekend. This is according to the Commissioner of the Border Management Authority, Dr. Michael Musiapato.
Authority says it has successfully foiled various criminal and illegal activities at the Beitbridge border post during the Easter long weekend. Scores of travelers are now crossing the port of entry to various destinations. The joint efforts between the BMA and law enforcement agencies have resulted in the prevention of illicit activities, including the smuggling of people and goods. The BMA says more than 1,000 people have been arrested for various illegal activities since last Wednesday.
We are now actually sitting on the return leg in as far as our Easter operations are concerned. We fairly concluded the exit leg in as far as the implementation of our plan, and that was basically from Tuesday last week until into Thursday. So we've been able to implement that successfully.
Apato also held the use of drones and body-worn cameras to combat crime at the port of entry.
In terms of corruption, the most powerful part of the body cams is that every interaction that our officials have with the traveller is on both audio and visual in the control room. In other words, in the area of control, where we are able to hear them as they talk to the travellers, even as they interact with them. So that on its own, what it does is it actually serves as a deterrent, so that people will not necessarily discuss nefarious activities with the travellers. The rest of the other ports with Botswana, for example, everything is going well.
The Border Management Authority says the Beitbridge border post will be operating throughout the night to process those who are crossing into South Africa following the long Easter weekend. I'm Kokejo Madao, SABC News, Beitbridge.
Welcome back. We now continue with this. In Mpumalanga, the provincial government has expressed concern over the number of fatal crashes on the province's roads, recording 18 fatalities since the start of the long weekend. Premier Mandla Ndlovu says they will go back to the drawing board.
Traffic volumes are significantly high as travellers make their way to various destinations, with many being stopped at roadblocks to ensure compliance with the rules of the road. Over 13,500 vehicles were stopped during the long weekend, and over 100 drivers were arrested for drunken driving.
We have a concern as the government of Mpumalanga that since 2023, it seems as if we are not winning. The graph of fatalities in Mpumalanga is going up from 15 in 2023 to 17 in 2024. Today, we are already at 18 fatalities.
The taxi drivers who were stopped at the roadblock welcomed the efforts of law enforcement officials and called on other drivers to obey the rules of the road. I feel happy when I see law enforcement officials on the roads because of the number of accidents. When you check, most vehicles don't have permits, most of the drivers don't have licenses. Their vehicles are not roadworthy for such long distances. Most of the drivers usually drive local. Mpumalanga MEC for Public Works, Roads and Transport, Thulasizwe Thomo, says he's concerned about the non-compliance of public transport on the province's roads.
Cars that were impounded due to many factors of non-compliance and drinking and driving were 985. Those were public vehicles, so we managed to impound them and of course issue different summons to them.
Law enforcement officials used this opportunity to educate over 124 drivers who were stopped at this roadblock on road safety and compliance. Ntlandla Jele, SABC News, Machado Toll Plaza, Mpumalanga.
Traffic volumes into Gauteng have picked up, with over 800 vehicles passing through the Carousel Toll Plaza on the N1 South from Polokwane, according to Gauteng Traffic Police. In KwaZulu-Natal, the Department of Transport has attributed the decrease in road fatalities this Easter weekend to increased police visibility on provincial roads.
Around this time, traffic is definitely heavy. If you look at your N3 from KZN as well as the N4 from Mpumalanga, we're counting more than 1,005 motor vehicles. The busiest freeway is the N1 where we are. We're counting 2,400 motor vehicles per hour at the Carousel Toll Plaza. That tells you that our freeways are extremely heavy. And yes, this is going to remain like this until late today. We also in Gauteng recorded, fatal crashes. We had 18, fatal crashes, resulting in 18 fatalities. And, 11, which is disturbing, out of the 19 fatalities, are all were pedestrians. Yes, not all of these pedestrians that perished were due to jaywalking. Some were, accidents that occurred off the road.
7 motor vehicles that were suspended were taken their disc off the road, of which they were unroadworthy. We got 7 of them. We also had 2 people who were driving under the influence of alcohol. I mean drunken driving cases. Also, we had 1 fraudulent disc, and we had 2 public transport vehicles that were transporting passengers without a necessary valid operating licenses.
Over 15 people have died on Eastern Cape roads during this Easter period. The Provincial Transport Department says this is a significant decrease compared to the previous year. Last year, the province recorded a total of 25 fatalities.
The authorities have applauded the motorists who obeyed the rules of the road over the Easter period. They attribute this to their visibility on major routes across the province. However, there are concerns over hit-and-run incidents that were recorded.
We've got to take our hats off to the majority of motorists in the province who have behaved themselves and ensure that they reach their destinations safely. And of course, comment has got to go to the officers as well for their dedication. So we are fairly okay with how we have fared.
Meanwhile, motorists across the province had this to say.
I say whoever is driving a motor vehicle on a public road these days must not enjoy by taking liquor on a public road while he's still busy driving.
Roads were wonderful. People were very good to us on the road. They moved aside for us when we were coming past as we were traveling in groups. So we found the roads really well.
It was very nice. We had a wonderful journey. Yeah, so otherwise everything was okay.
A call has been made for transgressors to be reported to law enforcement agencies. The authorities have vowed to continue with their operations. Abongile Yankees, SABC News, East London.
Welcome back. Now for this, the National Prosecuting Authority is expected to call the convener of the ANC's Provincial Task Team in KwaZulu-Natal, Jeff Radebe, to the stand when the Luthuli inquest resumes tomorrow. The inquest is looking into the circumstances surrounding the death of the Nobel Peace Prize laureate and the former ANC president, Chief Albert Luthuli. Luthuli died in July 1967, reportedly after he was struck by a goods train. The initial 1967 inquest ruled that his death was an accident. Radebe, who will be the inquest's sixth witness, will, according to the NPA, testify on how Luthuli, who was ANC's President General at the time, was persecuted like many black South Africans by the apartheid government. Current ANC Northern Cape Chair and Premier Dr. Zamani Saul could be elected for a third term at the party's Provincial Elective Conference, which starts on Tuesday. Saul and his top five will likely be re-elected unopposed.
Was first elected as chair unopposed in 2017 and was again unopposed in 2021. This year, history looks set to repeat itself.
Normally when you go to a provincial conference, branches nominate at the level of the branch, but then through the eye document of the ANC is saying that delegates come and attend, and delegates can influence one another, and they can also be influenced. And they made nominations.
The ANC in the province lost support during the national and provincial elections last year. It says with local government elections looming next year, rebuilding its voter base is one of its priorities after the conference.
We need to address service delivery issues. That's the reason why I say that the debates that will take place in commissions will be dominated by service delivery issues.
The ANC in the province has seen some successes in winning by-elections and regaining hung municipalities it lost in the 2021 local government elections. It says it wants to retake all municipalities in the next local government elections and avoid coalitions. Ulrich Hendricks, SABC News, Kimberley, Northern Cape.
Former President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Joseph Kabila, is back in the eastern part of the DRC. Kabila was warmly received by the new administration of Goma under the M23 group and its allies. This has led to the government of the DRC suspending his political party, the People's Party for Reconstruction and Democracy.
The former president of the DRC spent time in self-exile after a fallout with the current government led by President Felix Tshisekedi. Tshisekedi got support from Kabila during his first term. However, it was not long before the cracks emerged in the relationship. The conflict in the eastern part of the DRC led to Kabila contemplating going back to his country. It was at this short engagement with the media that he indicated his resolve to go back to the DRC.
In critical times, you have to make critical decisions, and these are critical times for the Congo. But in as far as we are concerned, well, like I said, we intend to be very much involved in everything that's happening, especially in as far as peace is concerned.
While there is excitement in Goma after his return, the current government is not impressed and tension has escalated. Kabila earlier blamed weak governance for the current crisis in the DRC.
If I am weak, whose fault is it? Is it the fault of my neighbor or my enemy, or is it my fault?
The current president has taken a stand against the M23 group and has made no bones about his position. Kabila is currently in the M23 stronghold. Meanwhile, it's still unclear when the SADC troops will pull out of the DRC.
So the plan is underway. Anytime we'll announce the real date, but we have to fix the Goma airport, whether we use the road, we go through Uganda or Rwanda, but there is agreement that they're going to come back home.
There has not been a standoff between the M23 and the Summit DRC in recent weeks. Sophie Mkwena, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Well, with that, it's now time to have a look at the weather forecast.
Good evening and a warm welcome to the weather days. Take a look at our weather for tonight into tomorrow. Isolated to a scattered chance of showers and thunder showers will dominate for the central interior into most parts of the eastern areas of the country. However, a widespread chance of showers and rains expected for the southeast coast, especially along the Eastern Cape province. For tomorrow, a scattered to a widespread chance of showers and thunder showers will remain for the central interior into the eastern parts, mainly scattered over KwaZulu-Natal into the Eastern Cape. However, for the eastern half of the Eastern Cape province, expect some widespread chance of showers and thunder showers. We're expecting some morning fog patches for the central interior into the escarpments of Mpumalanga, which might also reduce some visibility in the morning, so do take caution. For the southwestern areas into the central interior, expecting a yellow level 2 warning for severe thunderstorms, which might result in heavy downpours that lead to localized flooding, a possibility of damaging winds, as well as a possibility of hail and excessive lightning. For the southwest coast this evening, expecting damaging winds, which might result in difficulty in navigation at sea. For tomorrow, for the most parts of the east coast of the Eastern Cape, expecting disruptive rainfall that might result in localized flooding. For the central parts, issued by the Weather Service, we also have a yellow level 2 warning for severe thunderstorms, which might result in heavy downpours that lead to localized flooding, damaging winds, as well as a possibility of hail over the central interior into most parts of the Free State. For the southwestern areas, we're expecting damaging winds tomorrow, which might result in navigation at sea being difficult. Let's take a look at our overnight temperatures. It will be cold in Pretoria with a minimum of 9 degrees, 9 in Johannesburg. Over the southwestern parts, Sutherland will be cold at 6 degrees. Quite cold over most parts of Polokwane with a minimum of 13, and Musina will be cool at a minimum of 17 degrees. However, tomorrow, warm conditions are expected for the northeastern areas. Hot in Musina with a maximum of 35. Quite cool over the central and the southwestern parts. DR will peak at 21 degrees tomorrow. 20 in Calvina, and Worcester will reach a maximum of 20 degrees. And that's it from our weather. Do stay tuned.
That concludes our time this evening. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, good night and God bless.